Yoojun stood in the grand living room of her family's estate, looking at the faces of those around her. Her heart was cold, but her gaze was sharp. The men in the family had always held power, but Yoojun knew the truth. Women ran the household, and she was about to prove it. In a world where loyalty and respect were everything, Yoojun was ready to claim her rightful position at the top. And no one, not even her father or brothers, could stop her. Yoojun had always known her place in the world, or so it seemed. As the youngest daughter in the prestigious Kim family, she had grown up with the pressure of tradition weighing heavily on her shoulders. The Kim family was one of the most influential in Korea, a name that commanded respect in both business and society. But behind the scenes, it wasn't the men who held the power. No, it was the women. The women of the Kim family were the true rulers, the silent queens who had shaped the fate of the family for generations. From her grandmother, who had been a fierce matriarch, to her mother, who had successfully navigated the complex world of family politics, the women were the real power behind the throne. Yoojun had always admired their strength, but it wasn't until recently that she truly understood how far they would go to maintain control. Yoojun had grown up in a household where women were expected to be obedient, graceful, and supportive of the men in the family. It was a world where the men were given the titles, the glory, and the recognition. But as she grew older, Yoojun began to see through the facade. She realized that the true influence came from the women. Her mother, her aunts, and even her grandmother had all played a pivotal role in the family's success, though no one ever spoke of it openly. The men may have been the faces of the family, but it was the women who made the decisions. As Yoojun entered her 20s, she became more aware of the dynamics within the family. Her father, Kim Tae-jo, was a powerful businessman, the head of the family, and the one everyone looked to for guidance. But Yoojun saw his weaknesses, the way he relied on her mother and his sisters to keep things running smoothly. She began to understand that in a family as wealthy and powerful as the Kims, appearances mattered more than anything, and that power was rarely given. It was taken. One day, after a tense family meeting, Yoojun overheard her mother speaking to her aunt, a woman known for her sharp mind and cunning business acumen. They were discussing the future of the family business, and Yoojun couldn't help but listen in. "If we want to keep the Kim name at the top," her mother said quietly, "Yoojun must be ready. The men will never know what hit them." Yoojun's heart raced as she heard her mother's words. It was clear now. Her mother wasn't just talking about passing down the family legacy to her brothers. She was talking about making Yoojun the next leader of the family. The idea both excited and terrified her. Yoojun knew she wasn't like the others. She was intelligent, ambitious, and driven by a hunger for success that she couldn't ignore. But the path to power was not an easy one, especially in a family that had long been dominated by men. Yoojun's brothers, Kim Jun-ho and Kim Seok-jin, were older than her, and in their eyes, she was nothing more than a sister to be protected. They had been groomed to take over the family business, to carry the weight of the Kim name. But Yoojun had never been one to play by the rules. She had her own vision for the future of the family, and it wasn't going to be led by men. As the months passed, Yoojun began to work behind the scenes, gaining support from key members of the family. She sought advice from her aunts, learned the art of negotiation from her mother, and carefully studied the business practices that had made the Kims so powerful. With each passing day, her resolve grew stronger. She knew that in order to rise to the top, she would have to outsmart her brothers and prove herself to the rest of the family. One evening, during a family dinner, Yoo-jun saw her chance. Her father was hosting an important guest, a business tycoon who had the potential to help expand the family's influence even further. The conversation around the dinner table was focused on the deal, but Yoo-jun couldn't help but notice the tension in the air. Her brothers were speaking with authority, but it was her mother and aunts who were making the real decisions. After the dinner, as everyone gathered in the living room, Yoo-jun approached her father. "Father," she said, her voice steady, "I've been thinking about the future of the family business. I believe it's time for us to evolve, to move beyond the old ways of thinking." Her father raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised by her boldness. "And what do you propose, Yoo-jun?" She smiled, her confidence shining through. "I believe it's time for the Kim family to embrace change.